Hello everybody, it's Mrs. Pound and I'm back with another video for Chapter 22 on internal transport from BJU Biology's 4th edition. The topic of this video will be Section 22B, the lymphatic system and immunity. So our objectives for the video are to describe the difference between humoral and cell-mediated immunity, compare and contrast passive and active immunity, and explain the relationship between allergies and the immune system. So let's start with the lymphatic system from section 22.4. The lymphatic system helps in combating infections in the body. Lymph originates from the fluid surrounding the cells. So here we have a diagram, and you might recognize the red diagram represents arteries, and the blue part of the diagram over here represents veins, and there are capillaries in the middle. Now, something new are these green things. And notice, unlike the arteries and veins, they don't connect and really make a circle of any kind. They have endings, and these are the lymph vessels that will go to the lymph nodes. And so this fluid that seeps out of the cells goes into the lymph vessels. Now, lymph nodes are composed of lymphocytes, so lymph cells, and macrophages, which are important in immunity. And all of the green dots, okay, the darker green dots here, those are lymph nodes in your body. And they are in many places, especially under the arms. You can see them along your face here, your throat, up here in your groin area. And these are areas that, especially right in here, if you've ever had swollen glands, those are swollen lymph nodes because you have an infection and the lymph nodes are being activated and used to help fight that infection. Also, the thymus gland here is part of the lymphatic system and the spleen back here. And so you may notice some tenderness, especially here, also in the groin area. Your upper legs, if you're feeling ill, may start to ache, and other parts of your body. So maybe lymph nodes that are aching because they are helping. Also, this is this system, because it carries fluids different places. Lymph nodes are a place where you might find cancer cells if they start to travel around the body. And so commonly, if an individual has cancer, they look at the lymph nodes where that cancer is or near where that cancer is, and they may have to be removed so that they do not transport any of those cells to the rest of the body. Now, let's take a look at immunity in section 22.5. The human immune system's primary function is to search for, recognize, and destroy antigens. An antigen is a foreign substance to which the body responds by trying to eliminate it. So remember our red blood cells that had the antigens on them? Okay, like for blood type A and B and AB. Well, those proteins are on those cells, and those are antigens because the body will recognize them as not belonging to itself. And so other invaders also have these markers on them that your body will recognize, and that those are called antigens. An antibody is a protein that travels through the body and is involved in destroying foreign substances. So in your body, you have these proteins floating around that will recognize those antigens and match up with them like a puzzle piece, just like when I showed you for the blood typing that people with blood type A have anti-B antibodies floating around in them that will recognize the antigen on the type B blood and try to destroy it because it recognizes it as not part of itself. And so it does that same thing with other foreign substances. It will recognize, say, a virus or a bacteria by matching up an antibody with proteins or carbohydrates on the outside of that cell, like a puzzle piece. Now, types of immunity. One type of immunity is humoral immunity, and this is the body's response to foreign substances, which involves the manufacture of proteins to destroy them. And some cells involved in humoral immunity are plasma cells and memory B cells. Part of that humoral immunity is what we talked about earlier, just a minute ago, with the antibodies recognizing an antigen. There is also cell-mediated immunity, and this is the body's response to antigens, and it involves T cells. Cell-mediated immunity is activated when a macrophage ingests an antigen, forming an antigen-macrophage complex. Now, macrophages, okay, white blood cells that are very amoeba-like that will engulf basically and destroy and digest a virus or a bacteria or whatever is invading the body. And what they do is they take a piece of whatever they attacked and they stick it onto them. Okay. And this will activate this cell mediated immunity, will activate T cells. And it's called cell mediated immunity because it's helped along by the macrophage cells. So that's the mediation part. Cells involved in cell-mediated immunity are macrophages, helper T cells, cytotoxic T cells, suppressor T cells, and memory T cells. We will talk a little bit more about all of these types of cells in class. I'm not going in depth on here, but we will talk about them in class. Active immunity. So there are also some types of immunity are active immunity. This is immunity in which an individual produces their own antibodies as a result of having the disease or through vaccination. So active immunity, you actively produce antibodies. So active antibodies for active immunity. And so you either have to get the disease or you're given a vaccine. And a vaccine is a weakened form of a pathogen used to produce immunity, this active immunity, so that you can produce antibodies without being sick. Passive immunity is the introduction of antibodies into an individual. They have not produced their own antibodies. This is done through the placenta and breast milk for a child, okay, an unborn child and the child just after birth. This is why breast milk, if a mother can breastfeed, is very beneficial to the child because they are getting extra immunity from that milk. And also serum. They can take blood out of another individual. They can take the antibodies out of them, and then they can give the serum to somebody who needs it. And that would be passive immunity because you are not making the antibodies. They are being given to you. Okay. Important topic, HIV and AIDS. HIV is the human immunodeficiency virus, and I have a picture of it represented in the background. AIDS is a result of the virus. It's acquired immune deficiency syndrome. So, taking a look at these words, so human immunodeficiency virus. So, this is a virus that is causing your immune system to not work properly. So acquired immune deficiency syndrome means that you got it from somewhere else. And you got it from HIV, the virus. Now, an important thing to know about this disease and this virus is that the reason your body does not really fight it is because it actually hides in the immune system and affects cells of the immune system. So that's why We actually have many treatments for HIV/AIDS now, and people are living much longer than they did, but it can actually hide out in the body and in the immune system for many years before somebody starts to show symptoms. And we now have many medications to fight it, but it is a disease that if you get it, you probably will not get rid of it. It is transferred by body fluids. So, not saliva, but blood, and it is a sexually transmitted disease as well. So, that is how it is transmitted. Uh, an important thing to know is that people do not die of AIDS. They die of other infections that their bodies cannot fight off because the virus hides in and destroys some of your immune cells. Uh, it's not actively attacking you, but it is making it so your body cannot fight off other infections. And one thing I want to add is they do now have one individual who has been cured of HIV/AIDS. It was in the news recently, but there's only been one person. So treatments have improved drastically since the first introduction of this disease and its identification. Something else that you might encounter with the immune system are autoimmune diseases. This is when the immune system cannot tell the difference between foreign antigens and normal body cells. So, in the background here is a picture of somebody's hand who has rheumatoid arthritis. In rheumatoid arthritis, the immune system basically thinks that the body itself is foreign, and so it will start attacking things. And in the case of rheumatoid arthritis, it starts attacking the joints. There are many different types of autoimmune diseases. Maybe you've heard of lupus. There's also psoriasis. There are a lot of them that are out there, and all of them involve the body attacking itself. And so, again, we'll discuss a few of those in class. Allergies. It is allergy season here right now. And so, an allergy is a condition that results from the body manufacturing antibodies and histamines in response to the presence of non pathogenic substances. Basically, it's the activation of the immune system to substances that do not cause disease, that aren't harming you at all. Okay. And so it makes you feel sick. You get the runny nose, you get the sore throat, you get nasal congestion, and all of those things. You feel kind of sick, like you have a cold, maybe, because those are the body's response to pathogens. And your body is having that same response against something that really is not harmful. So that's what an allergy is. And those substances that are not harmful are called allergens. So an allergen is a non-pathogenic substance that triggers antibody production. A pathogen is basically a foreign invader, okay? Something that is making you sick. These are non-pathogenic, so they are not invaders, not going to make you sick, not harming you, but your body overreacts and thinks that they are going to. So our objectives were to describe the difference between humoral and cell-mediated immunity, compare and contrast passive and active immunity, and explain the relationship between allergies and the immune system. Don't forget your 5 questions in the margin, and I will be back with, I believe, just one more video for this chapter. Also, don't forget to answer your questions at the end.